So friends, this is a video that I was really hoping it would not be necessary to make, but it really is. We buy a lot of decks in our community. We have a huge influence over one another, over our purchasing, over the decks that we buy, the decks that we leave aside. We do a lot of free marketing for major publishers. We're really influential on a larger community than just one another, here, but all over. In terms of who buys what, what's most popular, all of it. We have a major impact. So I'm going to ask you to do something that's not going to be easy today, but I think that once you've heard what I have to say, it'll be something that you feel like getting behind, because it's so important. I got up this morning wondering how many of our favorite publishers that we go to time and again to purchase from were actually doing something in support of their Black authors, their Black deck creators, assuming that they have very many, and their Black customers, and just the Black community at large. I cannot tell you how horrified, utterly horrified I was to go on Instagram and look up each one of them. I don't follow them already, but to look up each one of the ones I'm about to mention and find that not only have they said absolutely nothing, but they're actually doing very little, if anything, to represent any of their authors who are people of color or tarot creators who are people of color. Please, I'm going to ask you to follow my lead on this. I want you to stop buying any further decks from any of these publishers. Stop using their decks, please, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, on any social media, any place that gives them free marketing, because we are doing a huge amount of their marketing for them, and we get virtually nothing in return. I mean, we get the spiritual wisdom in return, but let's face it, that's not coming from the publishers, it's coming through the publishers. So this is nothing to do with not loving or supporting our favorite creators and authors that come from these publishers. This is about the publishers themselves. The following publishers that I checked out this morning on Instagram have absolutely nothing since the 25th of May, nothing in support of the Black community, in support of their own authors, their own deck creators, the people that they represent as a publisher, and nothing that's in support of their customers. Schiffer Red Feather, breaking my heart. US Games, Llewellyn, Blue Angel, Rockpool, Hay House, Los Scarabeo, Game Crafter. There were two publishers who had just enough to tick that box on tick that little box that everybody likes to tick that makes it not seem like they're completely the most horrible people on earth. One of them was Harper One. It's a Black Lives Matter tweet. You know the ones, we've seen them, or one post, it's Instagram. And it basically just said, it says the thing that everyone's saying, but they haven't changed anything. They haven't addressed anything. They have not, they haven't looked at any of their practices. They haven't verbalized wanting to look at practice. There's a lot of things that they could do that would be helpful. But right now, let's just talk about what they're not doing and what I'm not seeing there and why I really think we need to take a stand right now. They have the occasional token person of color who's pretty fair-skinned, that's represented if you scroll through. Most of the publishers do, but they have not done anything in support of their authors and deck creators who are people of color. Nothing. In a moment of national crisis and in a moment of international awareness and support, they're doing nothing. They're publishers, guys. They're publishers. You know, historically speaking, we've gone to publishers because the publishers are the ones that hold the reins to get the messages out. And they're not doing anything. They're not saying anything. One publisher who's kind of doing something, is Weiser Books. They've had 7 posts on Instagram since the 1st of June that feature their authors and creators of color. And in this case, 3 of the 7 tweets in 2 weeks are retweets, or like, not tweets, why am I saying tweets? Posts. They're like reposts of the same books from earlier. Either earlier in the 2 weeks, there's one that was tweeted on the 1st and the 13th, or they go back even further and pull out some of the ones that they used for Black History Month. That's not acceptable. That is not acceptable. So folks, I ask you sincerely, with a sincere heart, please, it is not a betrayal of your favorite deck creator or author to stop using their stuff while the publishers are doing nothing about this situation. It is not acceptable. Please, I'm asking you to be uncomfortable and inconvenienced for a little while until we can influence them and push them towards shifting their messaging and shifting what they're doing. So for the time being, please do not buy any of their stuff. Don't buy anything that they publish. Please, for the time being, don't use their stuff on social media. Don't give them any more free advertising. Personally, I am going to unlist all of my own videos. I'm not here for likes and subscribes. We know this, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to take down all of my material that is from any of these publishers and make it unavailable because I'm not willing to give them any further free marketing until they're willing to shift what they're doing. Please, please stand with me. If you're a white deck creator or author and you are represented by one of these publishers, what I ask, because I realize this affects you too, right? Please be in contact with your publisher. Tell them that their lack of action, their lack of support, their silence in the midst of a crisis that affects the lives of millions of people in our country is no longer acceptable, and that they've got to do something. Please. Representation matters. When you see yourself represented in some fashion, in some form, in media, it tells you about yourself. It tells you that you are worthy. It tells you that you are human and that your human life is so precious. When you are not represented, when you are chronically underrepresented and pushed to one side, marginalized, it tells you exactly what the truth is, that life doesn't matter, that it is okay to marginalize a human life, a group of an entire group of people based on the color of their skin, and any other of the belief systems that we have allowed to be perpetuated and continued for centuries around that. It's time, guys. It's time. We can stop this. We can stop this. We can show the Black community. We can show the Asian community. We can show the indigenous communities around the world that we love them, that their lives matter, that their lives mean something. This is the time to do it. Their lives depend on this. Their lives depend on this. So please, won't you be just a little bit inconvenienced, uncomfortable, and nervous just until we can start things getting shifted? Isn't that worth it? So I ask all of you who are watching this from the bottom of my heart, please stand with me. Let us demand that these publishers represent more people of color, that they do justice to the people they already represent, who are Black, who are indigenous, or who are people of color. Please have enough respect for those authors and creators that you're willing to stand up for them. They need our love. They need our support now more than they ever have. They have been so long without it, that just this little amount that we can do it can be tremendous. Because let's face it, publishers don't care about anything but the bottom line. We know this. If we tell them what that bottom line is, they have to change what they're doing. They can't continue as they have. If you really, really want to be a compassionate, spiritual human being, we can't continue to allow the people who publish our stuff to behave in a way that is utterly, utterly reprehensible and unspiritual. It's just not, it's not right. They've gotten away with it for far too long, and they've gotten away with far too much for far too long. So if you have a voice because you use social media at all, if you have a voice because you have a YouTube channel, if you have a voice, because you have $25 to spend on a deck or a book, don't purchase from these publishers. Make them suffer, make them change. They will do it if their market demands it. They will do it if their white authors demand it. White authors, you have power too. You have even more power. Ask them to change it.